What's up everyone on YouTube? This is Very Mellow Man, and welcome back to my Let's Play of the Elder Scrolls 4 Modded. So why are we here, back at Deep Scorn Hollow? Because there's actually the resolution to a side quest I'm gonna take care of. Right here.
First, I'll kill you. Then, I'll get Rustlin and Laurent. You'll all pay for what you did to me! Where did you go?
The Imperial Dragon artwork by me, before me by Okato should be ready. So, I'll pick it up after I take care of this. So after dealing with that eyesore, I collected the Imperial Dragon armor. I demonstrate wearing it for all of you. I'm not wearing it for the rest of the game. And then we proceed to our real objective of starting the Knights of the Nine DLC by talking to the Prophet here.
I am but a humble prophet.
So the Prophet here will give you a specific greeting based on how much fame or infamy you have. He doesn't judge you for having infamy, but he will judge you more often for having higher fame. He will praise you for having higher fame more than higher infamy. He will...
the Unfeathered, the sorcerer king of the Aliens, who ruled over this land for long ages before the rise of men. He was cast down by Pelinal Whitestring, but Umarul's spirit survived, and now he has returned to seek vengeance upon the gods.
Yeah, so we're just gonna go through these in order. Ask who Umaril is, then ask who is Pelinal Whitestring. Those two form a pretty significant part of the backstory of the races of men and elves. But to make a long story short, Whitestring.
No one remember the old tales.
We're about to remember now.
Saint Pelinal, the divine crusader of legend, Alicia's companion when she overthrew the rule of the Aliens 3,000 years ago. Pelinal, with the aid of the gods, fought the alien sorcerer King Umarul and slew him. But Umarul's spirit survived, and he has now returned.
Yeah, there's a lot of lore about what the aliens were actually like and why they had the abilities they did. But, let's see. The aliens were also known as Heartland High Elves or Wild Elves.
Nothing. The blood speaks. I can read the ancient runes if you cannot. As Uibala, Umarale, El Nada Rakuva. In the alien tongue, by the eternal power of Umaril, the mortal gods shall be cast down.
Rage against the heavens, baby.
A curse upon Umaril's ancient foes, and a threat.
So how do we stop Umaril?
Alas, Umaril cannot be stopped. Not without the aid of the gods, not without the Crusaders' relics. Without a champion, the gods are powerless to act. But who among us is worthy to wield the divine Crusaders' weaponry?
I will quest for the relics.
You would quest for the holy panoply of Pelinal Whitestring? The legendary relics that have been sought by mighty warriors throughout the ages? Are you a worthy knight?
Now this part's fun because what he's actually asking for you is to be humble, but he'll crap shit talk you if you answer in every other way except I serve Sifis or I'm the Great Fox. It's pretty hilarious. So we'll go through all of them in order. Or not in order, but just one at a time.
Indeed. And yet you would seek the holy relics. The gods will find you an interesting plaything, I have no doubt. Well then, hail, hero of Kavach! Let me add one more voice to the never-ending chorus of praise. I'm sure one of your many devotees will be able to guide you on your way to find the Crusaders' relics. And never let anyone forget it, champion. I salute you, yes. This small matter of the Crusaders' relics should be a trifle for a legend such as yourself. Oh my! The grand champion of all Cyrodiil? Bayasura, Bayasura, Bayasura! Indeed. Surely there can be no better preparation for becoming a holy knight than a career spent slaughtering for the public's entertainment. And a worthy successor to Hannibal Traven, I have no doubt. I'm sure your arcane arts will locate an honest thief. The gods grant travel to the way shrines of the 9 divines. Pray to each of the gods in turn, and ask their favor upon your quest. If the gods deem you worthy, you will be granted a sign. Go forth with the 9's blessings.
And we're just going to learn more about what the pilgrimage actually means before asking again about the Crusaders' relics.
For those who would repent their past deeds, walking the Pilgrim's Way is a traditional way to cleanse yourself before the gods. Follow the map I gave you. Visit the way shrines of the 9. Pray and wait for a sign. The weapons and armor of Pelinal Whitestrake, Alicia's comrade, granted to him by the 8 divine. He went alone into the White Gold Tower, challenged the alien sorcerer King Umaril to single combat, and slew him. Alas, Umaril was not truly slain, but only cast beyond the bounds of Earth. And now he has returned to wreak his vengeance upon the gods, as was prophesied by Pelinal himself with his dying breath. Only a true knight, wielding the holy relics of the Divine Crusader, has a chance to defeat Umaril. But alas for Tamriel, the Crusader's relics have been lost for many an age. Who now can succeed in the quest for the relics, where the greatest knights of legend all fail? He was defeated, but not destroyed by Pelinal the Crusader. Now he has returned to seek vengeance against the gods. Only a true knight, wielding the holy relics of the Divine Crusader, has a chance to defeat Umaril. May the 8 and 1 guide your steps. Look well upon this chapel of Dibella. Look at the faces of the dead. This is your future. Evil has returned, and the 9 need.
So while we do the Pilgrim's Path, I'm just going to give you guys a lore drop on the aliens Umaril and Pelinal Whitestrake. I think it's best use of this time, since you really will just be seeing me explore the entire world space looking for the way shrines. The aliens were the first race to establish an empire in Tamriel, and had ruled modern-day Cyrodiil for countless years, dating back to before recorded history. Aliadun, their language, is similar to Aldmeris, the ancient language of the Aldmer. The Aliads were the original founders of the imperial city, which they had called the Temple of the Ancestors. However, their empire collapsed in the early First Era. And the reason it collapsed was because of the Alesian Slave Rebellion, which was a war that lasted from Era 1 242 to Era 1 243. Under the leadership of the slave queen Alessia, the enslaved Needs rebelled against their alien overlords. The legendary nomad warrior Pelennel Whitestrake dealt the final blow when he killed Umriel the Unfeathered in the White Gold Tower. However, Pelennel died along with the Alien King, cut into eight pieces in mockery of the divines by the Aliens, who were obsessed with the number. The victory, while extremely beneficial to the Needs, signaled the slow decline of the alien race's power, which would end at around year 500. Let's see. Now, much like how the ruins of the lost Dwemer dot Hammerfell, Skyrim, and Morrowind, the aliens have left ruins scattered across Cyrodiil and other regions which were once under the domain of their empire. These underground cities can prove deadly for adventurers, which, we already know that for certain. But, who was Alessa, and what were the needs? Start with this. The Needs, or the Nedic peoples, or even the Needlings, were a human race or a group of races of unknown extraction, who inhabited much of Tamriel during the Mevrethic and the First Eras. The Duraki society of the Needs, who lived in Hammerfell, then called the Deathlands, largely followed the cult of the stars, which revolved around the worship and study of the constellations, and became beings known as the Celestials. Nedic culture experienced a sharp decline over several centuries as they began to assimilate into other cultures, before being completely exterminated by the Yokudan invasion of Hammerfell. But Alessa, who back then was known as Queen Alessa, Saint Alessa, the Lady of Heaven, Queen Ot Sirioid, Queen of Mortals, Slave Queen of Cyrodiil, Mother of the Empire, Queen of Stars, and Alessia, was the first Empress of Cyrodiil and the founder of the Alessian Empire, the first of three Cyrodiilic empires. She led the Alessian Slave Rebellion against the aliens in the 3rd century of the First Era, freeing the Needs of Cyrodiil from slavery and founding the Alessian Empire. As the first Empress of Cyrodiil, she established a new religion, a fusion of the Nordic and Altmeri pantheons known as the Eight Divines. On her deathbed, in First Era 266, she was canonized by Akatosh and her soul placed in the central stone of the Amulet of Kings, thus forging Akatosh's connection with men to protect Tamriel from the forces of Oblivion. Among worshippers of Pelennel Whitestrake, Alessia is the patron saint of humanity. The Empress is associated with the Thief constellation. So, I think we should get into Umriel and Pelennel Whitestrake now. Umriel the Unfeathered is an alien sorcerer king who once ruled Tamriel and enslaved the human population. Umriel is a half-elf born of an alien mother and a divine father. His alliance with Meridia granted him immortality. Upon death, his spiritual form would live on and inevitably return. Thus, Umriel would never know death. Umriel appeared similar to Meridia's Daedric servants, the Aurorans, though much larger. He favored ruin from afar, preferring to send minions to attack and weaken his foes before he would risk direct combat. Umriel was defeated by Pelennel Whitestrake at the start of the First Era during the human uprising against the aliens, their slave masters, and the fall of the White Gold Tower. While Umriel escaped death, he was cast adrift in the waters of Oblivion, and many thousands of years passed before he could return to Mundus. His return at the end of the 3rd Era to seek vengeance. Basically, that's the part where his actual significance in war kind of kind of stops there for a little bit. So, who is Pelennel Whitestrake? Pelennel Whitestrake is a divine crusader, an imperial knight. In the First Era, he fought on behalf of the human slaves of Cyrodiil using enchanted gifts bestowed upon him by the 8 divines. He slew the Alien King in the... Right, we already know about this. Let's see. I think we can talk about the Slave Rebellion at this point. The elves first settled in Tamriel's interior when Topal the pilot was given the island that would become the Imperial Isle from the native birdman in exchange for literacy. The subsequent colonization of what would become Cyrodiil saw numerous elves leaving the Somerset Isles over disagreement over their stringent rules, in particular the outlawing of Daedra worship. The Alien Empire saw its birth in the First Era, Year 1, alongside Valewood, when they declared the first High King. Initially, the aliens worshipped both the Aedric and Daedra gods, though unlike the Chimer, they made no distinction between good or bad Daedra. The Alien Empire was a decentralized one, with numerous alien city-states allied to one another, and constantly vying for power against one another, while the seat of power being the White Gold Tower on the Imperial side. The Heartland High Elves also enslaved the native Nedic people, and potentially many beast folk races such as the Minotaurs and Imperial Isle Birdmen. However, a shift in the Alien Empire came with the Nar-Finsil Schism, which was a conflict between the staunch Daedra worshippers and the staunch Aedra-worshipping Barsebic aliens that had its origins in the late Methric era. This conflict in First Era 198 with the scoring of Wendelbeck, with the Aedra-worshipping Barsebic elves sent into exile in Argonia, founding the cities that would become Gideon and Stormhold. Alien society took a turn following this, becoming much more sadistic and hedonistic, with slaves being ritually tortured and sacrificed to Daedra princes in exchange for armies of Daedra and other advantages. It was under this oppression that the slave Alessia prayed to the 8 divines, who granted her their favor. With her slave rebellion successful, she dedicated the city of Sancretor to the Aedra. Let's see. At this point, I think it'd be really important to look up even more stuff about Pelennel Whitestrake. Oh, there we go. War version. Nice. Okay. Alright. Pelennel Whitestrake was a legendary and infamous demigod who fought alongside his fellow demigod Morihaus as a champion queen of Queen Alessia during the Alessian slave rebellion of the First Era. Pelennel is but one name for the legendary immortal hero who, according to legends, conquered all of Tamriel by himself in late Merethic era. However, he never united the various provinces he conquered under a single banner, as he was known to wander, build up kingdoms, and inevitably abandon them to wander again.
You seek my relics with a worthy heart. Your prayers have woken me from my endless dream. Or perhaps you have entered my dream, and I still sleep. I think others have sometimes spoken to me. Others like me, but my memory is doubtful. Perhaps the others came after you. Your need must be great for the gods to allow us to speak. As one of the accursed found a way back, the foulest of a foul race, 1,000 curses upon his unholy name. I thought I'd won, but I should have known. The slave masters are a cunning breed. Umaril found a way to cheat death as I could not. If you would seek for my relics, I know it will reckon you. can show you where it once stood. Perhaps it is there still. Fare thee well, Sir Knight. May the gods grant you to destroy.
Well, that's perfect timing. We were just talking about this guy in more depth. But yeah, once you complete the pilgrimage itself, you are cleansed of all your infamy, meaning that if you did the Thieves Guild and the Dark Brotherhood quest lines before you did the Knights of the Nine DLC, you'll literally be free of sin, and you will have all your infamy set back to 0. You will no longer be considered a sinner. You'll no longer be a sinner. Alright, now, where was I? Right. He possessed, White Strake possessed the Crusader's relics, which were given to him by the 8 Divines. Legends say he often had stretches of homicidal madness during which he slew indiscriminately and took a toll on the very landscape itself. So, the name Pelinel means glorious knight. It's a corruption of Pelinel, which means the Starmate Knight. One story gives the name Pelani, which became the old Cyrillic word for outsiders for time, for the wild elven tribes. It was referred to in many different ways during the Alessian Rebellion and was known as the White Strake. Pelinel Insurgent, Pelinel the Bloody, Pelinel the Blamer, and Pelinel the Third. This last moniker, Pelinel the Third, could indicate he is a god-geyser who has incarnated twice before. Another theory suggests that he is the third vision received by Saint Alessia in her prayers to the gods for mankind's freedom from the aliens. He's often referred to as the Divine Crusader. Kaiji legends remember him as the White Snake. It is claimed that he had other names as an immortal Sorcerer King, such as Ysmir, Harold Harry Breeks, and Hans the Fox. His close connection to Alessia sometimes had the pair referred to as Pelin Alessia. Yet another title for Pelin is Covenant Eradicator. Right, yeah, we existed that long ago, and when you're responsible for the freedom of all mankind, the truth about you will be drifted, even if the broad strokes facts about you are going to be written. Wow. Stupid. Huh. Let's see. So, the interesting thing about Pelinel Whitestrake is his demigod nature, so let's get more into that. Pelinel described himself and Morathis in a conversation between the two as Ada, the same classification given to his half-divine enemy, Umaril. Furthermore, some sources classify Pelinel as a demigod. Pelinel had many parallels to the missing god Lorikon in his various aspects. It is said that a man once called Pelinel the Shezering. The man was then smothered by moths that night. Furthermore, when the Nords first bore witness to Pelinel, they claimed that Shor had returned. Another link is a book of dubious nature that was supposedly authored by Pelinel that entails a conversation with the Heart of Lorikon on the nature of the Arbus. Briefly, what's a Shezarene? The Shezarene also identifies both Shor who lives and Teacher of Men, was a bearded figure in Nedic folklore described as one of the goddesses of Shezar, the god of man, in his role as a wise mentor towards the races of man, primarily featured in tales where the needs versus the advance of the alien invaders. The tales of the Shezarene, alongside our folk legends of Shezar, were taken as inspiration by the later Cyrillic Neds to resist the oppression of the alien slave masters. The term is derived from the name of Shezar, whose name the Song of Pelinel identifies as an alternative for the word freedom. At some point during the Middle Merethic era, the Shezarene and other depictions of Shezar as a wise mentor ceased to feature in the Nedic sagas. However, the term came to be featured in a Remen manuscript of the Song of Pelinel, a work compiled in the early Second Era, where he epitomized Pelinel Whitestrake, a warrior as opposed to the bearded wise mentor of Nedic legends, was identified as potentially being the Shezarene. The song says the man who made the claim was then smothered by moths. Well, that's weird. Okay. So, basically, whoever is identified as a Shezarene is identified as a god in the form of a man, basically. An aspect of Lorcan himself brought back to life. Now, for whatever reason I can figure out, Whitestrake really hated being called a Shezarene or implied to be divine as a whole, or a god, which might be the source of all his madness or something like that. Now, it gets even weirder than this. Pelennor was said to have entered the world like a Pathnamak, born of Sithis and all the forces of change therein. This is consistent with myths of Lorcan that speak of his Pathnamak nature and him being begat by Sithis. Beyond this, it was said under Pelennar's armor was a gaping chest with no heart, only a red rage-shaped diamond that sang like a mindless dragon. Also, despite his hatred of god talk, Pelennor himself spoke of a twin nature he shared with Akka, and the secret faces that he and his twin have worn in heaven since even before the days of convention, speaking of Pelennar's ancient nature. It's also that Pelennor is capable of time travel or possessed the ability to see future events. He allegedly shouted the name of a future ruler, Riemann, hundreds of years before his birth during the days of the Alessian Rebellion. Additionally, this one stated the word Argus's time, though there is no scholarly consensus on where these were dated. The deeds of Pelennar's various aliases throughout many different ages of Tamriel history are, by some accounts, the result of various incarnations of a composite hero. Pelennor had association with animal imagery, namely the fox and the wolf, animal totems of Shor and Mara, respectively. Pelennar's elven enemies viewed him as a mere man, specifically a Bene warlord. This caused his prideful elves to be confused by how so many of their kind saw defeat at the hand of Pelennor. Pelennor also carried strange weapons and armor gifted by the Eight Divines, which, are the Crusaders' relics. So, we're basically all cut up as far as all this is concerned. Pelennor Whitestrake is a tremendous badass. As far as oh, right, the way he was killed off. Pelennor and Umril's confrontation took place in the White Gold Tower itself, almost spilling to the nearby alien settlement of Vanua. However, upon his arrival to the throne room of White Gold, Umril first weakened Pelennor by saying soldiers whom he had been saving for that moment, knowing full well they would die, as Umril had grown fond to ruin from afar tactics. It was only after Pelennor was bleeding and wounded that Umril finally came down to fight him. Pelennor slew Umril nonetheless, so his victory was short-lived. Umril had managed to deal Pelennor a mortal wound, and the other Elf Kings descended upon him and cut him into 8 pieces, in mockery of the Divines, and carried them away, leaving only his head as a gift to Alessia. His head would later be found by Morahas, and was said to have spoken things of regret. Pelennor informed Marius that Umril, in its cleverness, had bound himself to the realm with his mistress Meridia, and with his Daedric nature be able to cheat death. Pelennor warned that he would no longer be able to protect the men from the wrath of Umril, but Marius discovered that when the time was right, his uncle would come again. So, yeah. Oh boy. Pelennor Whitestrake is definitely not a normal human. Like, the crazy crap we just learned about him. Like, you learn so little about Pelennor Whitestrake in the game itself. It's pretty insane just how much this stuff. You need to try looking at other sources, other ways to learn about him. I'm not even sure there's any in-game Oblivion text for you to learn more about Pelennor. Let's see. As for Umril himself, Umril was born to an alien mother, which you already knew, but Umril claimed divine parentage from his father, that his father was a god of the prior Kalpa's world river. Now, Kalpas are basically universes, so epoch of time, birth, death of a universe. Whatever the previous universe was before the Big Bang, so to speak, that type of thing. So that's whatever. That's kind of also insane. No way to verify that. We'll never know for sure. With his half-mortal divine heritage, Umriel is known as an Ada and referred to as a half-elf. One peculiarly rattled off by Pelin Whitestrake in the Fit of Madness that he and Akka are responsible for the creation of Umriel, which is basically saying that Akka is short for Akatosh. So basically, an Ada are a type of deity, which are demigods, derive appearance of mortals, and the Ida, which are the original spirits, with the Ada being able to change things through love. So Pelin Whitestrake, Umriel the Unfeathered, and more highest as well. But yeah. While we know plenty about the aliens at this time, Umriel specifically lorded over Netic slaves of countless tribes. Slaves tortured Yaya, forced to obey the Elven Masters. Umriel being ambitious and wishing to expand the scope of the alien power influence engaged in campaigns. Really nothing new, honestly. Like, his backstory is pretty nuts, but it's really more like learning about the entire backstory of all the alien kings. Oh boy. So. I guess the only question now is, when Mariath entered the White Gold Tower to over the head, alright. Umriel is cunning and balanced up the realm of his mistress Meridia, and upon his mortal demise in the hands of Hell, was really cast into the waters of Oblivion to reform Music and Deja. There's really nothing else to say here because the backstory of Umriel and Pelin Whitestrake is just backstory. Their lore, we can only really continue to explore their lore by continuing to explore what exactly an Ada is. What are the Et Ada? Let's see. Yeah, sorry, my computer just beeped again. Alright. The Et Ada are the original spirits, a race of divine beings resulting from the interplay of Anu and Padme, including the Aedra, combine both Anuic and Padmic bases. These are the gods who help to create Mundus. The Deja princes have a Padmic basis. These are the gods who refuse to help create Mundus and create their own planes in Oblivion, filled with lesser Deja. And the Magna Gi, which have an Anuic basis. These are the gods who refuse to help create Mundus and fled into the Aetherius after Magnus, creating the stars while Magnus created the sun. So yeah, Anu and Padme. Anu is the force of stasis and order, while Padme is the change and chaos. And Anu and Padme basically made everything else. I'm sorry, I could probably keep going on, but for what we know, basically, Umriel and the crazy thing here, and the reason like Elder Scrolls lore is so completely insane, is that it takes the appeal of the creation myth is in creating multiple different iterations and multiple different interpretations through yeah, okay, so I'm trying my best here. Like, I really want to keep talking about this, but I'm not really sure what else I have left to like add to the whole thing, because this is just, again, this is pretty much everything that I can find about I guess we can talk more about the aliens in specific. There's, I guess I should at least technically point out that the aliens weren't all completely evil, really. Remember when I said that the aliens didn't make a distinction between the good and the bad Daedra, so they worshipped both of them? Not all aliens agree with doing that, and some aliens basically continuing to worship both the Aedra and the Daedra eventually caused a schism within the overall community of this one race. Daedra worshippers and Aedra worshippers got into holy wars with each other, to a holy war with each other, a holy civil war, if you can say. Oh. Alright. Well, never mind me. We're here at the secret headquarters of the Priory of the Nine, where the Knights of Nine originally gathered and lived, but it's a rundown location, as you can tell for obvious reasons. I'm just exploring right now, but yeah, armor and weapons, not exactly the strongest stuff, but it's very much very interesting all the same. Sir Ami.
By the strength and guidance of the Nine, who comes before us upon this sacred ground, seeking the cuirass of the Divine Crusader? Step forward, adventurer, and face us each in honorable combat. For the vows we fail to revere in life, we shall uphold in death. No unworthy soul shall lay hands upon this sacred artifact without the leave of the Knights of the
Now, what follows is a pretty brief but ultimately pretty cool little combat ritual right here. We are literally going to fight all of these knights.
Sir Cassidy, step forward.
You're like, what? An elf? Thinking elves.
You have bested Sir Cassidy. Sir Ralph. Back and let the challenge continue. Sir Henrik, come forward and prove yourself.
Right, let's see. Yeah, let's see. The Daedra worshipping aliens eventually emerged victorious against the Aedra worshipping aliens, and that caused the Aedra worshipping aliens to flee into the Black Marsh, which became known as the Bar 7 tribe. And because of that, alien society not only permitted worship of the Daedra, which basically is the actual reason they started enslaving the Needs. And the rest of the story is pretty much just what it is, honestly.
You have lost, Sir Junkin. Sir Toro, show the challenger the ferocity of the North.
It's not supposed to be a difficult combat encounter. It's just supposed to be a test of
Against the Knights of the
valor.
Nine. However, the final test is upon you. Yourself, Sir Knight, and face me! Sir Knight, in 300 years, none have stood against us. Step forward and claim what is yours by right. May your faith be
After doing all that, we get the second of the Crusaders' relics. Yes, we got the first. I was just kind of busy talking about other stuff. The chassis and the helmets give us the basic gist of the look. And considering that, well, the Knights of the Nine DLC is honestly pretty short, all things considered, so it's going to be like a 3-part Let's Play series, even if that. So we'll be ending the video off here once I show off how the armor looks. I'll see you all next time after that. I hope you enjoyed learning about the history of Pelennor Whitestrake and Umaril, as well as the aliens as a whole. And I'll continue this adventure with you next time.